After the Compromise of 1877 led to the withdrawal of federal troops from the South, Democrats consolidated control of state legislatures throughout the region, effectively marking the end of Reconstruction. Southern blacks saw the promise of equality under the law embodied by the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, and 15th Amendment to the Constitution receding quickly, and a return to disenfranchisement and other disadvantages as white supremacy reasserted itself across the South. In 1875, the outgoing Republican-controlled House and Senate passed a civil rights bill outlawing discrimination in schools, churches, and public transportation. But this bill was barely enforced and was overturned by the Supreme Court in 1883. So, as you can see that even after the Civil War and after a compromise that promised black people the equal rights compared to white people, Southern former slave owners they still see black people as slaves instead of the people that can stand beside them. So especially in Southern society, white supremacy is still a commonplace. And although the bill was barely enforced, the first is housing segregation. The Secretary of Commerce Herbert Hoover created a federal zoning committee to persuade a local boards to pass rules preventing lower-income families from moving into middle-income neighborhoods, an effort that targeted black families, since black families don't have that long history as most white families, and they are often not paid well in the society even though they have a job. And Richmond, Virginia decreed that people were barred from residency on any block where they could not legally marry the majority of residents. As historian C. Van Woodward pointed out in a 1964 article about Plessy versus Ferguson, that white and black Southerners mixed relatively freely until the 1880s, when state legislators passed the first laws requiring railroads to provide separate cars for Negro or colored passengers. Florida became the first state to mandate segregated railroad cars in 1887, followed in quick succession by Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, and other states by the end of the century. So it is very obvious to see that although black people are promised by the amendments that they will be treated as equal as white people, and so many white people still don't agree with that, and they created the segregation, which was claimed to be separate but equal, but was actually putting racism on the black community. So, although in 1800s the black people were not slaves anymore, they were still at the bottom of the society, and white supremacy is still very popular at that time. So many black people and black families were not able to get well-paid jobs, and they're being separated from the society.